Welcome back, Bees and Bookworms, to another journey into the world of YA. If you're new to the channel, greetings. We're a group of book-obsessed students who just won't stop talking. But it's been a while since our last video. We were off passing language GCSEs. We all got 9s. Unfortunately, Tara has abandoned us. Don't worry, she's off doing great things. Good news though, we have a new member, our amazing co-writer Amar, who really didn't know what he was getting himself into. Returning as editor is Emily, and then there's me, Sarah, your charming host today. Today we're going to be talking about the book Ace of Spades by Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé, who landed $1 million book deal at the age of only 21. Ace of Spades is a hard-hitting young adult thriller novel that discusses themes such as racism and classism. As always, we'll give you a spoiler-free summary of the book, our general opinions, and we'll go into a detailed deep dive that discusses melodrama, representation, and institutional racism. As you know, we're a group of very opinionated people, so there'll be no shortage of content for you today. So prepare yourself for a spoiler-free summary of the book. In Ace of Spades, we meet a mysterious texter by the alias of Aces, who is out to get Chiamaka, a head girl willing to do anything for power, and Devon, a talented musician who can't escape when his private photos go online. Look out though, they're planning more than a game for high school children. Overall, we thought that the book was quite enjoyable. It has a dual perspective narrative, which helps us gain insight into many life experiences and perspectives. Devon and Chiamaka's voices are both unique, which helps us differentiate between the two since they're both distinct, which helps keep the narrative fresh. Although our co-writer Amar didn't like it, we thought that it helped people see the world through a different lens. An example of this is how Chiamaka grew up in a wealthy background, while Devon was disadvantaged because he grew up in a poor one. This emphasises the privileges of growing up in a wealthy background while illustrating their similarities between being black students in a predominantly white school. The other strengths of the book are that Devon and Chiamaka are likeable and unique characters, because Chiamaka has a strong and complex personality. It's refreshing to have a protagonist who is always flawless or even nice, since she's so ruthless in reaching her goals. Furthermore, it's easy to empathise with Devon because he has a background that most of us relate to and can understand. Additionally, there's always something to talk about or debate since the characters are never bland or boring. However, there are weaknesses. An example of this is missed opportunities, like Belle, an interesting character who disappeared in the middle of the narrative. Another weakness is relationships. We feel some of the romances developed too quickly while the characters were not yet fully developed. We also dislike the fact that some of Chiamaka's more negative actions aren't addressed. For example, she doesn't suffer consequences or even reflect on her poor treatment of the student who gave her coffee. And some of Chiamaka's actions related to the car accident unbelievable because her behaviour contradicts everything else we know about her. However, we'll save the details for the deep dive. So over to you, Emily.
Hello and welcome to the deep dive portion of the video. I'm your host, the animated character on your phone screen, or whatever device you are watching this undeniably brilliant video on. Let me take a moment to remind you that this is a spoiler zone of the video, so if you haven't read the book, you're going to get very lost very quick. I'm going to paint you a picture. Every time you see a TV show, read a book, whatever, you see a group of predominantly one set of people. This group are regarded, unfairly, as the most intelligent, the most useful, the most valuable, just because they look a certain way. This, by extension, makes life extremely difficult if you don't fit into the perfect mould. Can you picture them in your minds? What do they look like? Slim, young, white. For those who don't fit into this mould, life can be more of a challenge. This can be seen in the business sector, as only 1.5% of managers, directors, and senior officials in the UK are black, contrasted to a staggering 89.6% white. On the police force, there are 1% black officers, against the majority white workforce, and unbelievably 0 on the appeal court. In 2020, there was a police scandal centred around a 15-year-old black girl labelled Child Q, who was alleged to have been carrying cannabis. Although she was underage, had no parental consent and menstruating, she was made to strip search. This involved intimate exposure of certain body parts. It was later revealed that she had not been carrying the illegal substance. I want you to put yourself in Child Q's shoes. You are a normal school child, but because of what you look like, you're made to strip to prove your innocence. She had no one to turn to because the people who she could have trusted failed her. Safeguarding failed her. The police failed her. The system failed her. She was guilty until proven innocent. And she was not alone. Between 2019 and 2020, 5,287 children were made to strip search by the force. 75% were from a black, Asian or minority ethnic background. With the amount of power the police force has, there is no real way to know if that number is any larger. With this in mind, Àbíké-Íyímídé includes many examples where Chiamaka and Devon are racially targeted in a similar way. Chiamaka is accused of stealing by the shopkeeper. Her responsibilities are taken away from her before she can defend herself, and when she appeals to the media, she finds them complicit. In a similar way, the authority figures that Devon confides in, such as his teachers, are also not to be trusted, and are later revealed to be a part of Ace's. Just like Child Q, the system failed Devon and Chiamaka. In this instant, you might believe that the melodrama is unnecessary and over-exaggerated. However, when you look at real-world headlines about institutional racism, it's not much of a stretch. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, using melodrama, Àbíké-Íyímídé highlights the injustice in our society. Spoiler alert, every white person in the school is actively taking part in the Ace's Machiavellian plot. And in the real world, Breonna Taylor's killers are still out there and have not been brought to justice. This book had several moments on which we had strong opinions on, to say the least. A very polarising example is the car scene, where we see a complete contradiction of Chiamaka's previously established morals. When we meet Chiamaka, she is given a lot of responsibility. She is head girl. She is trusted with science resources and seems like a person who follows a strong moral code. However, early in this book, Chiamaka and her best friend, Jamie, believe that they have accidentally committed a hit and run. Although this is later revealed to be a setup, it shouldn't have made a difference. Believing that it was real, Chiamaka does not have that moment. Chiamaka did not go help the girl when she was hit by the car. Chiamaka feels some guilt about her actions, but she doesn't do anything to make things right. We felt Chiamaka could have been more tormented by the hit and run, not necessarily in conversation with another character, but as a small thought to herself or soliloquy. Due to Aces being written as a dual perspective, we get an insight into how she and Devon think, their loyalties and their emotions. What the group behind Bees and Bookworms found to be our least favourite part in the book was the character of Jamie and Chiamaka's loyalty to him. In layman's terms, he has run over a woman! I cannot fathom how this is not a huge red flag! On the other hand, Chiamaka has reasons to be loyal to Jamie. He was the male validation she was desperate for, and as he had gaslit her for their entire friendship, it was only natural that she felt close to him. Then again, Chiamaka is presented as an intelligent character who thinks critically about every social move she makes. Here we found their relationship a little bit unrealistic. Now, she would not apply the same logic to Jamie sooner, loyalty or lack thereof. After talking so much about Chiamaka, and rightfully so, it's time to move on to Devon. LGBTQ+ and black issues are almost never talked about in the same breath. However, we thought that Ace of Spades presented this beautifully in Devon's character arc. In the book, we see what life is like for a person of colour in the LGBTQ+ community. When his intimate photos are leaked, as a black gay man, when he is outed, he does not receive the same respect that his white ex-partner Scotty receives. His so-called friends isolate him. He is targeted first by a local gang, and then once again by his teachers when he confides in them, unaware of their part in Aces. The character of Devon is stuck between a rock and a hard place. He does not feel welcome in his community because he is gay, and he is bullied at school because he is black. This gives us insight into the challenges that black queer people might encounter, and the representation of queer people of colour is refreshing, especially when framed in such a positive light. At the end of the novel, Devon has several good friends. a supportive boyfriend, and has brought down Nevis Academy, subverting the tired trope of bury your gays. After reading Ace of Spades, we asked ourselves one final question. Was it Àbíké-Íyímídé's intention to make us question whether working within the system is the most effective way to change it? When we are presented with Chiamaka, she is the model student, with the drive and ambition to succeed, and bring it down completely. This was because the institution was actively working against them, like so many people of colour in real life, like George Floyd and Child Q. Àbíké could be trying to emphasise that instead of forcing black people to change the system working against them, to dismantle the system in its entirety. Whether black or not, we have an ethical duty to actively make our world better. Anyway, that's all from me today. Back to you, Sarah.
Overall, this book sparked a lot of debate between us and prompted some important discussions about race and different experiences. Although we had some notes, we at Bees and Bookworms really enjoyed the book. If you are or know someone who likes reading books with deep, heavy topics, we would recommend it. Faridah Àbíké-Íyímídé has a new book coming out called Where Sleeping Girls Lie, and we can't wait to read it. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. In the future, you can expect more interviews with authors and more of us talking, maybe closer to ranting, about books we've read. Please remember to like and subscribe, and we hope you have a nice day. Emily bullied me into saying goodbye creatively, so toodaloo.